Hey, everybody, this is episode 69 of Mastering Local Marketing, defending your small business marketing reputation. Have you ever lost sleep over what a former employee might say, or even worse, what they might do to affect the reputation of your small business? You're not alone. Maybe you've dealt with it already. Someone leaves and suddenly they're stirring up rumors, posting online, or even opening a competing shop right down the street. As a small business owner, these situations cut deep because they don't just threaten profits, they strike at your reputation and trust. The good news, there are ways to prepare, minimize the damage, and protect the business you've worked so hard to build. In this episode, we're breaking down 5 strategies every owner should know before an employee problem becomes a marketing crisis. You'll learn 1, how to control the narrative, 2, what business assets are most vulnerable, and 3, how not to, quote, react the way most do and how to react appropriately. And number 4, perhaps the most important, expect problems and have a plan in place. I'm Jim Deedlow. I own JED TV Sports Network and WJOB Radio. I sell advertising. And my studios, as you could hear in the background right now as a fire truck goes by, are right here on the campus of Purdue Northwest, where the digital marketing guru of the Midwest is a professor, and that is Matt Hansen. Matt, how are you?
I am good, Jim.
Isn't that crazy? Every time we start,
every single time.
It's a loud motorcycle or a
holiday
siren.
parade.
Remember the holiday parade? Yes. So we are literally 20 feet from, I think it's 42,000 cars and trucks a day. Yeah. That's a lot for a local road. It's actually US 41. And from time to time, that happens, and it's just part of the game. When we built these studios, the engineers said, we can't do that. It's going to be too much noise. Oh, the light's going to change. I'm like, I want to be right here where the action is. And there is some action. As a matter of fact, right when we're going on, we were dealing with the situation where we thought someone might have formerly worked here and got rid of some data for us, and we're trying to figure out how to do that and how to deal with it. Luckily, someone had made copies, and that is part of that plan. And I host a podcast with Guard Street Cybersecurity, and they're always talking about have a plan for, other things, data being stolen, data being tampered with, hostage, all that kind of stuff. But this same thing that goes with defending your small business, especially when someone leaves and isn't happy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this whole topic kind of stemmed from some of the past experiences that I've had with different clients that I've worked with where, an employee was kind of higher up in the company and something happened. You don't really know what happened. All of a sudden they quit or, just disappear, right? And many times what happens is they reappear later on somehow, some way. Is it a post that they put out there on social? Is it one of your clients all of a sudden, like a major customer, disappears and stops coming to you? Like you'll start to see some of these things occurring. And I think if you're in business long enough, this will happen. Today, what we're kind of talking about is some of the steps that you need to take to make sure that when these things are going to occur, that it's not going to catch you off guard and that you'll actually have a plan in place.
Now, we have talked in, probably 30 episodes ago about dealing with negative comments on your ratings and on your Yelp and Google and so forth. This is specifically talking about when an employee left and isn't happy and does have some tools. A dissatisfied employee has tools in the arsenal to affect your reputation, and we got to talk about that. One of the things, I guess, immediately, other than reputation and everything, sometimes you're right. When somebody leaves, they go start up their own shop, they could steal your clients, right? Or at least attempt to. That ever happened to you?
It has happened to me. It has happened for my clients. And it's fine, right? I get it. There's this whole human nature to it. But, in reality, you've got to have a plan for that. I mean, if one of your customers or one of your former employees steals one of your customers and that customer is 15, 20% of your business, that's a huge hit to the bottom line. So, when somebody leaves, you have to control the narrative, right? So if let's say you have a smaller agency or something like that, obviously you've got a bunch of different advertisers. When somebody leaves, control the narrative. Have the conversation with them. Matt is no longer with us. He decided to go off on his own and do some things. We wish him the best of luck. To cover what Matt was currently doing, we have these 3 people that are going to be taking over. They'll be in touch with you in the next 24 to 48 hours, right? So you're basically saying that somebody left. We're already well ahead of the game. We know how this is going to play out. We have people allocated to make sure that nothing gets dropped. And I literally had this conversation with somebody that walked in my office yesterday that 3 people had been let go from their social media team, and they were the only person left, and they're picking up all of the pieces, right? So there's all these things that were dropped, and really you have to think about that. They have access to information, to data, to all of these other, is there a customer list that they have? But just have a plan. I think that's the core foundation of what we're talking about today is have a plan, control the narrative, and you'll be much better off.
How do you control the narrative?
Get out in front of it, right? So silence is deadly, right? If you just sit back and you don't really say anything and people are out there spreading gossip and all this other fun stuff, you got to realize you need to get out there in front of it. Oh, Matt or Jim or whomever, right? I'm just throwing names out there, left the company. And with something like that, have the conversation with your customers. Yeah, we're really going to miss Jim. He was a great asset to the company, really provided this, that, all these different things. But, we have to move on and we're going to continue doing what we've done in the past, right? So it's a conversation. So if you hear gossip, you hear people talking about it, join in. I mean, don't ever say anything bad. Regardless, keep those feelings to yourself and what you're going to do, but get out in front of the narrative. So if you start to hear things, talk about them. The other thing too that I always say is don't put things in writing, right? So somebody starts to badmouth you out there on social media, do not jump in. And there's so many small businesses that I see do this, and I'm always kind of yelling at them, don't put it online, because people will, they see the fight happening right in front of them, and that is not what you want to do. Pull it offline. The most successful entrepreneurs I know never put anything in writing. It's always verbal. It's always a conversation, right?
Text too.
Yeah.
That's my wife is a judge, and she has trained me to, I think maybe when texting first got going, and for 5 or 10 years, I would be kind of open about my feelings or making a joke, and sometimes it was taken wrong and so forth. And then one day it's just don't text anything controversial.
Right.
And those come up in courtrooms all the time and so forth. But speaking of texts and emails, maybe you've given the employee a phone, or, certainly they have a company email, and, they have the socials and they have access to your website. You have to somehow secure those assets, without making it super uncomfortable. But really, I don't know if there's any way around to just say, hey, you're shut out of your email. We're going to, anything that gets emailed to you is going to get emailed to the other salesperson. It's going to get forwarded. But what should be the attitude about securing the assets?
Well, let me take you to a story with that. So I see consistently with social media where people still have access to your social channels, and they are not part of the process anymore. They've either left the company, their former employees, their former agency, their former something, but they still have access to it, right? And it's funny because even people that I've worked with in the past, when we stop working together, I will tell them, please take me off. And if I go into my my Meta Business Manager, I can still see former clients. I can still see things in there. And, it's always like, hey, we've got to get rid of this. I don't want to see this. I don't need access to any of this.
So just so everybody understands, going into Meta Business Manager is probably a good idea to do regularly anyways, because you probably forgot a lot of times.
Right. And, and again, keeping an eye on who has access to different things is always 100% something you should be doing, because I've heard multiple clients that somehow somebody got in there, they push everybody out, they change the admin rights, and then you don't have access to it anymore. And quite honestly, think about that in terms of you have somebody that does social for your company and then they leave. They can, if they're disgruntled enough, can push you out of Meta. They can take your admin rights off of the account and own the account. And quite honestly, there's no phone number that you're going to be calling Meta to say, I need my account back, right? So that's a long, drawn-out process of trying to prove that you're the owner and that the other person isn't the owner. So I guess what I'm saying is data and the access to data, you have to understand that if you have a disgruntled employee that is leaving, just make sure that every time somebody comes and goes, that you're checking all of those data points just to make sure. I'm not saying that the world is full of these people. I'm just saying I've seen it through my own clients, and it's been pretty ugly, and you have to deal with it, right? So from an agency side, from dealing with the client, we have to walk them through the process of, okay, now you need to go do this and this to get, all of this back. But I've had clients that have had 3-4 different Facebook profile pages through the years because they keep losing access to their page because of either disgruntled employees or people that have left that don't respond to any kind of emails or phone calls anymore, or even the fact that you didn't pay attention to who was gaining access and somebody somewhere else has gained access to it and taken your page.
So there's a balance here, though. In that, yes, somebody leaves. You go to the mill. We're right down the street from one of the largest refineries and several of the largest steel mills in America. And when it's time to go, they walk out with a full crew and they walk you out straight to your car and they follow you off. And you're just done. And there's no communication. You can get your stuff out of your locker and no going back to your tools, nothing. Just it's all over. It's a little bit harsh. And if you're a company that has had somebody for a while, you kind of want to do it in a dignified manner.
Right.
So how do you balance the cut and dried, I got to protect the assets, with I want to treat people with dignity?
I think the biggest part of that is keeping a level head, right? So you are an owner, you are a marketing director, you are somebody that is in a position of authority. So you can't lose your cool, right? So many times we're presented with something that has happened, whether it's a customer or an employee that is blowing up at you, and you just want to kind of move the situation. Many times people will start to get into that verbal argument and all of those types of things. Your biggest job is to de-escalate it, right? So bring it back down. Realize that you have to keep your company at a certain level of professionalism. And why do I say it? Why are we talking about that in mastering marketing? It is your reputation is your marketing. So as soon as your reputation takes a hit, right? Think of it as a boat, right? So we put a boat out there on Lake Michigan, and as soon as you hit, let's say, a rock somewhere, and it puts a small little hole in that boat, if you don't pay attention to that, what's going to happen? It's slowly going to sink the boat. So the boat is your reputation. So if you have people out there that are literally ex-employees that are starting to say things and you don't nip it in the bud, or you don't just have a conversation with them and just say, listen, I agree. Let's agree to disagree. I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm not here to ruin your life. I want to make sure that you have the opportunities to go to that next step. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. It's just not going to work here. Most people don't respond that way, right? It's a blown up process, and I can name tons and tons of names that will do that, right? And I know it's a personality thing. Some people are a little bit more hot headed than others. I was laughing the other day because my daughter she's driving now, and she's like, "Why are people honking so much anymore?" I go, "Maybe it's your driving," but I think society as a whole, we're getting that a little bit more hot-headed, a little less passive. And when you're a business owner, you've got to realize that whatever you do that comes back in a negative manner can be positioned against you, whether it's an ex-employee or it's even your competitors, because the competitors can come back and say, this is who you want to deal with. Do you see the argument that they're going on back and forth? They put it out there publicly. So don't do that. Reputation is key. It's that perception of who you are. And once you kill your perception, you can kill that in a matter of minutes, and it's something that you've built up over 10 years.
One way to kill it is to respond negatively to somebody else's negative posts about you. What do you do when that happens? And it will.
Yeah, well, that happened I would say about 6 months ago, for a client that I was working with, and they were off, and this customer was, or not customer, this employee was basically out there bad mouthing, and it was funny because it was on a Facebook group. It was buried, right? Like it was a large Facebook group, but they were commenting on a post, right? And quite honestly, they could jump back in there and say, well, let me tell you the real story of what's going on here, because nobody ever shares the other side of it, right? It doesn't share the countless issues that the customer or the employee has had, right?
Like falling asleep or the booze or whatever it might be.
There's two sides to every story, right? So instead of starting that and taking a smoldering little flame and then throwing gasoline on it, you just let it go, right? You don't post in that group to keep it going. Nothing's going to be solved by putting that argument out there, and quite honestly, nothing ever developed from it, right? Nobody ever came and said, oh, I saw your post, or any like that. Just don't do that. Don't get in a fight online, because those, if you need to talk to that employee, and I keep saying customer as well, because I want you to realize like customers can do this as well. Don't put it in a digital format. Don't put it out there for the world to see the fight. If it's meaningful or if it's causing any damage, have a conversation with that employee, that ex-employee, or that ex-customer, because it's easier to control that narrative in an audio version of it, face-to-face or whatever it may be, than it is to try and get a text or a post that you put out there in a Facebook group to come down. I mean, those are out there forever, and you're going to see it.
Finally, someone's going to leave, and they're going to try to take your business or do it. Mm-hmm. I was on a sales call yesterday, and a guy is telling me that he was in a bar talking about the business idea, which was streaming locally, and the bartender was there, was listening, and wound up going and starting up that business.
Oh, wow.
That can also happen with former employees, and they do leave you, and they're like, I'm going to do this myself. What do you do then?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Somebody that works for you is going to go compete with you at some point. Just know that that's going to happen, right? So I think the biggest thing is good for them. Good for them that they're going to start a business. So when we had the home decor shop, we had somebody that worked for us, and they kind of got a little disgruntled over some of the things that were going on. And, we didn't fight with them over it. We were like, this is just how it's going to be here. They went and started their own shop, right, in the general same vicinity, which is fine. And we encouraged that. We said, you know what, you've got your own unique style. I think you're going to do well. Good luck. We'll send people over to you. Not a problem. I mean, you de-escalate the situation. They're going to compete, but there's enough dollars out there to support all businesses, right? So I think most people think money is in short supply. Money is not in short supply. I will tell you that you can make a business out of anything and get money coming in the door. People will buy just about anything, and there is no shortage of customers out there. So if somebody's going to leave and go on and do something that's very similar to you, that's fine. And then, from an agency perspective, let's say, somebody leaves the agency and they want to go start their own agency and they start trying to pick off your current customers. That's on you if they actually succeed doing that, because you don't have such a good relationship with your customers that they're now jumping ship to go with somebody that has left your company. So that's on you. That's a relationship. They had a better relationship with the person that's left than the person that owned the business.
This is episode 69 of Defending Your Small Business Marketing Reputation. Look in the show notes. Please go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube. You can watch this thing. Help us get to 10 subscribers. That's a joke. You ever listen to some of these other podcasts and they go, help us get to 500,000 subscribers? No, help us get to 10.
Oh, well, we've definitely got 10 on the podcast.
I know,
so, yeah, we're good there.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jed. And until next time, we will see you later. I can't hear. We're not live yet. Are we live now? All right. He's leading this one, and turn me up a little bit on the pink one, huh? And then we'll start over. Testing. Hey, everybody. I can't hear anything. Testing. I don't hear myself. You hearing me? All right. Well, then I'm going to switch headsets. Do you mind? Yeah, okay. Well, let's do this live, all right? Are we live? All right. How about if you want me to go blue or yellow? All right, I'll go back to yellow. It seemed to work pretty well. All right, good enough. I'm going to put this down. Go ahead. Hey, now that's beautiful. You be me, baby.
All right. Let me know when
Are we live on the radio and on all that other stuff? We're live. These things, people don't realize these get recorded live on radio, AM, FM, tune in. They get on a Jet TV. They're also live on YouTube. And maybe that sets us apart as a podcast.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right,
see where it goes.
Let's be quiet, and then he's going to be me for episode 70.
Local businesses are increasingly turning to the familiar fields and courts of high school sports as a prime advertising venue. This strategic move is driven by a powerful combination of direct community engagement, targeted marketing, and the potential for a significant return on investment. By aligning their brands with the passion and excitement of scholastic athletes, companies can forge strong connections with a valuable local audience. In this episode, we'll talk about how aligning your brand with the passion and excitement of scholastic athletics, companies can forge strong connections with a valuable local audience. Welcome to Mastering Local Marketing. My name is Matt Hansen, and I'm here with Jim. Jim is going to be our expert today because this is his area of expertise. So, Jim, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for letting me onto your podcast. If you guys listen to the first 69 of these, I'm usually in that other role. So it feels really weird. I have always been the worst person to get interviewed. You know what I mean? I'm just I'm good at interviewing, but getting interviewed,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wearing somebody else's underwear or something. You know, it's uncomfortable.
Great. I'm glad we're going to try this live on air. This is
People don't realize that they would be catching this podcast at another time, that we're live on local radio and local TV.
So here, tell me, why are you the expert in this?
So here, there's two, in a global sense, many people that would listen to this Mastering Local Marketing are kind of like you, are very good on the digital and social media, and you're good at protecting your reputation on social media, at buying Google and Facebook ads. What kind of ads should you put on there? So 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do this podcast because it would all be, if you were doing Mastering Local Marketing, it would be like, how do you buy in a newspaper? How do you do circulars? How do you do cable ads? How do you do radio? How do you do local TV? All that. So now the Mastering Local Marketing is all about integrating mostly social and digital media. But there's an odd thing happening in a global sense, in that there's what one of our clients, our main clients, pointed out to me about a year ago. And I'm like, man, I never even thought of that. But she's like, here's what I think is going to happen in the next year. She goes, I think that it's going to be the pivot to local marketing. I go, well, what do you mean? Like buying ads on? No. Actual local marketing. And if you believe that, then you'll listen to the rest of this podcast. If all you believe in is for your business or for your marketing department is going out and buying Facebook ads and Google search words and putting up TikTok videos, then this might not fit until you start thinking about what Jed TV Sports Network has done. It's basically merged traditional media and with the streaming and all of that. So I know that's on a global. On a specific thing, I have Jed TV Sports Network, and what we did is we pivoted out of radio and we just started doing our own video on TV and streaming. And then we were doing it on Facebook Live, and I think one year we got 15 million views. And then we're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do our own network, our own platform? Well, we looked, and it's like a ton of money. And then COVID came. Mm-hmm. And the government gave us a ton of money. We had to keep everybody working. So we built our own platform at rock bottom prices because nobody had any work. So all of a sudden we have this platform that we're doing games on, and we're also doing news and sports and all that. It turns out people love the sports, the talk and the news and all that, not so much. So we just a week ago made it the Jed TV Sports Network. And we stream high school games. We do tournaments. We do taekwondo tournaments. Once in a while, we'll do something else like a graduation or a State of the Union. But for the most part, what we do is we stream high school games and we sell ads.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't think about the high schools in regard to athletics and all of that. Now, I get it. There are certain states in the United States that are heavy, especially in the South with football and all those types of things. But I've seen the resurrection. I mean, I used to play sports in high school, and to try and figure out a way to hear the game or to watch the game was impossible back then. So today, I think it's interesting because there are so many new players coming up to kind of, I've seen it probably for the last 10 years, people trying to get this going. But now in the last 2 years, I've really seen an emergence of local sports becoming part of especially our area. People are talking about it. You're seeing it everywhere. And maybe it's just algorithms and all that other fun stuff for me, but I'm seeing a lot more of it. But you mentioned the fact that people are moving to local marketing. And again, if I'm posting something on TikTok or Instagram or any of these platforms, you're going to get people that see you in other locations, right? So let's say Dallas, Texas, somebody might see my post. But I don't sell in Dallas, Texas. I don't do any kind of business that anyone in Dallas, Texas is going to buy from me. So why is that important? Well, now you have to realize that I'm putting all of this effort into things where people are going to see my content that aren't going to be my customers. So now I need to look at more of a local level. So what you're saying is the local sports is a guarantee that you're going to be in a local area, right? So we have, 20, 30 different high schools around here that have outstanding athletics. We're in we're right over the border from Chicago. So we kind of have a huge population in Indiana. We're not Indianapolis, but we have a huge population, which has provided us with some outstanding athletes and some outstanding teams that go downstate every year, right? So you mentioned the halo effect a lot, and I want to bring that up. What does that entail?
So ultimately, look at like national sports. It has just ballooned. I mean, big brands pay billions to be by D1 and pro athletes, mm-hmm. right? Well, why do they do that? I mean, it's such a premium from other CPMs. And why do they do that? Because it's pretty specific, and they don't like to really talk about it, but is this the halo effect of being on sports. And basically, you have positive feelings for your team and for the excitement of the game, and you transfer that to the brand that comes up into the commercial.
Right.
It's the sports halo effect. I guess it's not really taught. You probably never taught that in any of your classes, but it's becoming more and more important because now there's about half of the schools in the country stream their games. In 5 years, it is expected that all schools will stream their games. So that gives an automatic method for the local business a place to put TV ads just like the big guys. Mm-hmm. And that's my business. We started streaming, and then we all of a sudden say, why are so many people asking for meetings with us and wanting to advertise on here? I don't get it. We're trying to force feed them all the news and the talk, and all they wants to be next to the high school athletes. We did the research. The digital sports halo effect is real at the big level, and now it's coming to the local level. So how do you get involved, or how do you get involved in that? What we're doing is one of the ways to do that is find out who's streaming those games and get on those games, because it is way underpriced right now.
Yeah.
And for what you're getting. And you know that you're getting the halo effect and that you're getting the targeted audience. Sometimes we'll get other people out of market watching the games, but typically those are college recruiters, because we offer the games for free, which is good. We're okay with that, because then that is okay. And it tells the athletic directors and the schools, well, people might get a college scholarship about having this game on TV. And so other than that, we do the games and we may have 1,000 viewers throughout the night for a game. 950 are from our local area. You don't have to buy Facebook localized, taking the only that cell phone that's in a certain area, because you already know no one else is going to watch the Highland Griffith football game that we have on this Friday night.
Right. And sports are embedded into our culture, right? So you've heard me talk about it in the past on the podcast, how I grew up a Bears fan. We're about to start the NFL season. All of my friends are optimistic. I'm playing pessimistic this year. I'm taking the opposite approach finally. But
if they win half their games, that would be a big accomplishment.
I said 6, but anyways, I know it's bad. But we grow up with it embedded in our culture, right? So I grew up, it's the Bears, it's anti-Packers, it's White Sox or Cubs. You pick one or the other. You're not both. But when we look at high school, that's your high school that you went to. It's the memories that you have that are associated with going through that high school that you remember when you're watching these games, which is why they are so passionate about watching these games, right? It's a little bit of like just history and camaraderie and all this like really fun things that you remember from the athletics back in the day. And that is associated with future teams. It's always going to be your team. It's always going to be your school, right? So my wife and I went to different high schools, and it took me a long time to embrace the high school that my kids go to, because it was always, that school, right? And I still, to this day, as they're going through, and I have friends and parents that will go to the games or watch the games, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good, right? But I found myself watching my old high school play the football games at state championships and things like that, right? So there's this deep passion for your school. When we mention the halo effect, what we're doing is we're transferring that deep love, that passion for that school to the brands that have associated themselves with that team. So what we're doing is we're putting them together, and you're building your brand off of the passions, the love for that team, and that's what we call the halo effect, and that's why people do it, right? So unlike professional athletes or professional teams that can have kind of the craziness that goes along with an athlete, right? I just recently watched it's kind of like a documentary on Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, and it's talking about, the steroid era and Barry Bonds and all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, something like that is a negative that you don't want to be associated with. But on a high school level, it's very rare that you get something that blows up like that, right? It's a safer play.
That is people start to understand the halo effect, but that is another one. And let's just look at this. We started out a TV network as having both discussion about politics and sports on the same network. And we had a number of brands come to us and go, man, we really love this sports. We love your numbers. And they always know that it's underpriced. But we don't want to be next to that other stuff.
Yeah.
We stay away from social media because we don't want to be put next to any political talk or any disgusting stuff. We just want to be next to your games. So we've had to split it. And that is now it's just a sports network. And quite frankly, I can't believe the demand for just that pure connection with high school athletics. This has been going on for a long time at the upper level. Mm-hmm. And the D1 and the pros. The reason that you say you're so passionate about the Bears is partly because you watch the games.
Yeah.
Right? But you couldn't until recently, and still can't for some, can't watch your local high school. That is all changing and is all about to change. And business, the smart money knows this, and they're getting on the halo effect at the local level for, a minor 0.1% of the cost of doing it at the national level.
So obviously, it's moved from pro to college with the no money and all of that to kind of the high school level. So there's a variety of options. I know you talk about the sports network, but from an advertising standpoint, let's say I own a business out there. We have 3-4 different high schools in my farm, the places where I'm pulling customers from. What can I do? What are some of the opportunities that are out there for those?
So certainly this thing that we're doing is not in every market.
Right.
Okay. But if it is in your market, start there. You can get a TV commercial onto a high school game at a really reasonable cost right now because it is a very nascent platform way of advertising. But you can go straight to your high schools or to your conference and get in on it. Let's look at a high school. Go straight to your high school. Your athletic department is going to have a few sponsors already. You go by the high school football field, you see the banners hanging from the stands. You might see the scoreboard, and at the bottom it has some advertising on it. You can have signage at location. You go onto their website, and they have 4 or 5 sponsors there. And then you go to the game, and then they say at halftime, hey, don't forget to go over to Arnie's Hot Dogs and get a hot dog. And you could do that at several high schools. And you can start to build that halo effect at the live events. And then what is happening also is that newspapers have kind of gone out of favor, and we've never even done a podcast or an episode about, how do you use newspapers. But a number of the high schools are coming up with publications that are basically the old programs. Now nobody has a program, but they might have a publication about what went on in all the sports in that school, and that's what we've partnered with for one of our conferences to do that. And they're selling ads into it like crazy. People are like, hey, I can be on with a TV commercial, and I could be in this little newspaper you're doing, and you're on the radio. I'm in. You know what I'm saying? So, other than that, there aren't that many opportunities. Certainly, like if you're a restaurant, you may go to the athletic directors and say, hey, you know what? I'll give you guys a free meal. Just bring everybody over here, and I'll pay for all the teammates. And then they bring their parents, and then they come at other times. But I think what it really boils down to is understanding the value that people have had with big-time sports for a long time that is now coming to the smaller sports situations, and try to attach your brand to that.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, that we should probably look at is, and I say this a lot, is to look at what others have done in the past, right? So if we're moving from pro sports to college sports to now high school sports, you should actually be looking at pro sports and college sports for what other opportunities they've developed out there, right? So is there a pregame party that you could create at a major, at a sectional for a football game or something like that? Could you do like a game day live type, you know, with that, right? Like you could create opportunities there. I've worked with companies that have done halftime type programs where they're shooting from half court, and there are insurance policies that you can buy for that. There's all kinds of different ideas. So I guess what I'm saying is look at when you go to a game, when you go to a professional game, or you go to, take a look at the Savannah Bananas, for example, and see some of the things that they do. Can you create some kind of promotion like they do? Or is there a dedicated, like I love Fenway and how they have the one red seat in right field, which is the longest home run that's ever been hit in Fenway. Could something like that be a sponsorship opportunity? Like just get creative with how you can become part of the history and what's going on in the special events within that high school, and pull that out of a collegiate environment and say, how do I do that on a local level? Because they're probably not even thinking about that, and you can bring that to them and say, I want to do this.
We do media day, and we do it at a local restaurant, and they love that. They're like, man, you bring all these people, and then they see those people, those coaches, those parents, and the people that watched it live come, and there's a huge ROI on that. And you're basically talking about an attitude of, do I want to get involved in my community? I mean, certainly local sports is one way, and we're continuing that. But our projections over the next 5 years, those opportunities are going to expand greatly, and they're going to get quite a bit more expensive. So now's the time. Yeah. I sound like I'm going into, my I sit in front of people all the time, and I can't believe the demand for it. I will give you a good example of using what's going on. I went in the other day, and we're close, so I'll just say what kind of business it was. It was a pools business, and whirlpools and hot tubs and above ground pools. And they're like, hey, dude, it looks like your major advertisers are trade unions. And I'm like, yeah, well, I was a laborer. And the guy gave me the idea. He said, listen, what if I were to offer like a 10% discount on a hot tub or a pool to anybody who's in any of those unions, past or present? And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah. But he was thinking of that. He wasn't just looking at what I'm offering. Yeah. He's looking at my audience. And that's another thing. If you're you do eyeglasses or whatever, what can you do if you see the audience out there to project that, hey, you know what, if you went to Munster High School and you're an alum. Oh. Yeah.
I've got the perfect one for that. You got a bad call in a baseball game. You've got the eyeglass sponsored by this optometrist. We'll give free glasses to the umpires after the game,
You see, you can get creative because they do that all the time at the bigger level. That has not come to the high school level. Right. So what I'm saying is that, especially about watching the games on TV, is coming to your area. We're doing it here. It's expanding pretty quickly, and you can go after the halo effect. Just understand that the halo effect is out there. There will be more opportunities. Certainly, we sell our social media posts. Here's one. We're sponsoring one right now where we had 8 football games on Friday. Who has the best cheering section? And we put up pictures of the different ones. 40,000 views in a couple hours. Yeah. And that was sponsored by one of our sponsors who man, I love that. I want that. I want to be part of that, that one. So when it goes on, it says, the Jed TV Sports Network, I don't know, crowd thing. And then it says sponsored by Boom. right there on the Facebook post.
Oh, I've got so many ideas that we could do with this, but we've got to wrap it. But where do people find more information about you guys?
You just go to jedtv.com and you'll be able to see that. And then if you have any specific questions, like, hey, man, we're in some other area, how come we're not streaming our games or whatever, we're always open, and we're, pretty much tell everybody what we do and how we do it. So all you got to do is email me at jed@jedtv.com.
All right. That's a wrap for this episode of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next week.